Okay, perfect. Yay! Live, it's working.
We have
Um,
technology success,
that's great.
right?
So, welcome everybody to the weekly dose in the Pursuing Success God's Way community, coming to you live with the Hustle with Heart Entrepreneur Interview Series and my friend Jessica Koch. So, I'm super excited to bring Jessica. We actually had pre-recorded this and I don't know where it went. So we're re-recording it because you know what? The Holy Spirit just meant for us to be back together and to be live with you tonight in our Pursuing Success God's Way community. So Jessica, welcome to the Hustle with Heart interview series. It's so good to have you again.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So what I'd love to do, Jessica, is for you to just share a little bit about you and your Hustle with Heart business journey. Sort of what do you do and how did you get to be doing that?
So, really, I was at a point where as I had gone through a sales and marketing career nationally. I worked for other firms. It was big business development for them. I did government sales and government contracts all across the country. I spoke at a lot of big conferences, including for like executive directors of county government and power cooperative CFOs and superintendents of public schools. We work with the Fortune 1000. So I did all this stuff building for other people. And timing just worked out that it was time to make a change after 15 years with one firm. I did a lot of actual prayer and looking for peace and discernment from God about the next place to go, because I'm kind of the person who wants to stick around. I had no desire to run a business on my own whatsoever. And I went 3 places over the course of 3 years, and they each did not follow through with promises. So I was a little bit brokenhearted, and I was done. I was never going to sell anything again. I never want to work for anyone again. I had beyond zero. I was in the negative zone, forever wanting to own my own business. And I was just kind of done. And so I told my husband, that's it. I'm going to market you. You can go out there and do the thing. And I'm going to stay home with our kid and homeschool. And that's what I did. And I call this my Jonah and the whale period because I was hiding from everyone. I was not on social media. I was very honored, and I had several people who realized I was kind of on the market again, reach out and say, come and work for us. And I was just too broken to say yes. And so I sat on the beach and volunteered at the homeschool co-op and taught other people's kids and taught my own kid and had a lot of fun. And I was hiding. And this is going to sound like I'm bragging, but I got a call from the executive director, Bob at the time, for Calvert Chamber, and actually several of the lead women in that group. And actually Kathy, who's executive director now, was a big part of this. She is a beautiful, amazing person. And they reached out to me several times, and I'm like, I'm not working for anyone. I don't want to work for anyone. And I'm not a chamber member right now. I don't want to do that. And they wanted me to teach a LinkedIn class and give me this opportunity to speak at the Women to Women event, the luncheon, and they were having them at the Chesapeake Church at the time. And after a little bit, I decided to say yes because people matter most, right? And I went and I taught, and the room was full, and I just didn't have understanding of how badly people needed this information. I just thought, doesn't everybody know this? To me, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't, and I put together a little slideshow. I'd never taught anything on this before. I stood up there, and the energy in the room was, you could feel it. Like people were taking notes furiously, and I was really excited, and I could feel them being really excited. And I got approached afterwards. Can you consult us? Can you work for us? Can you do this? And I said, no. So I helped people for free for like 6 months because people matter most. And then they had their big conference that they do annually for women. And I was asked to be one of the speakers. And it was just really a fantastic experience. And really, I give a lot of credit to Kathy and that entire Women to Women group on really launching my business. Because at one point, my husband looked at me and said, look, you're working for free, but whether you like it or not, you have a business. And it is time to suck it up, Buttercup, and register your business and get a website and get a business card and let's go do this thing.
You know what I love about what you're saying is, first of all, I love the reference to Jonah, right? Because that whole story, there's a fantastic Priscilla Schreier Bible study on Jonah, and it's all about God's divine interruptions, right? And so you're sort of like, I don't know what God's calling me to do, but I'm gonna stay in my bubble, and I'm good in my bubble, right? But here's the fascinating thing about what you said, and that you were so broken, and yet the Lord uses our brokenness. Like, brokenness is necessary for maximum usefulness. That's what Dr. Charles Stanley says. But he put these people in your life, and he put you in particular connections to get them to draw you out to say, we want you to teach this class, which then led to, you know, all of this other stuff. And it's just amazing how he aligned all of that for you. And then finally, like the last piece where your husband's like, I think we got a business. Like, you might want to do something with that.
Yeah, it was like he pulled me out of the whale by my ankles, but
yes,
because I was seriously trying to hang on, and now I couldn't tell you how much joy and happiness I experience on a regular basis. My business has moved international. I have clients in the UK and in Canada and Australia, and I'm going to have the honor of being featured on a podcast that's out of St. Martin's in the Caribbean that's got 2.2 million followers, and they live stream out of New York City as well. And I'm building all these collaborations and partnerships and keynoting in Denver, and I mean, I just am overwhelmed by everything that has been kind of coming my way. And that's how I guess I started my business around 2017, 2018-ish, somewhere in there. And so I'm just approaching a couple of years at this, right? And I'm just now have my head in the game to say, okay, I'm in detail mapping out my business plan, and I'm starting to drive the bus a little. Before I was just letting anything and everything kind of come. And I think I'm at a much better place where I am more prayerful about his guidance in the business, but giving it some thought and some direction, and outlining, 3 and 5 year goals, and, the next year immediate goals. So all these different things are taking place that are kind of exciting. So
yeah, I want to unpack that a little bit too, because I think that sometimes as we, as God-centered entrepreneurs, start to step into an opportunity, a mentor of mine, whom in my book is known as the Velvet Hammer, she says, when she explains her success, that like, God opened the doors and I walk through. Like, I take no credit. And so sometimes I think we can miss the doors. What I love about what you said, and I really, really want everybody to grasp this, is that when you are aligned, when you are in the place and doing the work that God has for you, that he's predestined for you, which we know in scripture he has, that things start happening, and you can't even stop it if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. And often I think sometimes we pull back on that rocket ship shaking and go, oh, hold on a second. I got to write my business plan. Like, I can't do business. I got to write my business plan. But you're just now getting to the place where you're saying, okay, now I can write the business plan. I think the message in that is that you don't have to have it all perfect to do it. It's stepping out in the faith. And I mean, talk about exceedingly abundantly beyond what you could think or imagine, to have these global connections and these, I mean,
crazy.
That is not anything you probably would have imagined when you're holding on like to this belly of the whale. And I love what you said, like he's kind of pulling you out by your feet, but what if you hadn't let go? I mean,
yeah, I am more, I have so much joy in so many aspects of my life. My health and all my family's health is so strong and so good. My love and my relationship is that of my lifetime and touched by God. And my business and what I'm able to do in it is bringing me so much joy. And one of the things I struggled over in the beginning of the business was constantly just wanting to help people for free. And I realized
talk about that.
that was just a really, I was harming the people I love the most by giving them a service without value connected to their subconscious, so they would actually implement what they learned and have the success and the transformation from it. And that's, I think, a really hard lesson for a lot of people to learn. So I kept praying on that, actually, and I kept asking God, how do I fix this? How do I make it so anyone who needs my service can have my service and have access to it, but still bring resources and value to my family, and then still have them have skin in the game and really participate and follow through, right, to take action. And that is where, in the very beginning of my business, one of my very first thoughts was the affiliate program. And now this affiliate program is not just for an individual, for an additional revenue stream. They can, they get 40% of the sale. It goes straight to their PayPal. They can put gas in their car, food on their table, or buy the course and work with me to get the training they need. So I'm available and accessible to anyone who wants to make an effort. They just copy and paste the link and share it out on social media. It can't get easier than that. That additionally opens some doors for me to have the opportunity to use my course as a fundraiser, so that I can touch the lives of people. Like, we're doing it with American Cancer Society. We just are about to launch a program with hospice. We're doing some work with Dream Queen, and actually many others I'm beginning to be introduced to allow that to be a fundraiser for them. And it does a couple of things, because it serves the people who supported these nonprofits forever. These families all have high school students, college students who need the strong presence on LinkedIn for the beginning of their career journey. They all have people who were approaching, or maybe past it, because I didn't look it up recently, but I know 20% unemployment in our country, when in February we were at 3%. Mm-hmm. So people in transition need this strong space, because the majority of the jobs and recruiters are looking on LinkedIn, and you need to be strong there. And all the businesses that are struggling and looking for additional clients and referral partners and strength in their industry really need to know how to properly leverage that tool. So this is a way for those families and businesses that have supported these different kinds of nonprofits to get this great training, for this nonprofit to get 40%, for my family to have resources and benefit. And it's just so much stronger than a tin of popcorn or a candle. This is a fundraiser that is genuinely making a difference. And I just feel blessed to be a part of the equation. So
yeah.
Really
I think one of the things that I love about what you said is, and I think as God-centered entrepreneurs, often we struggle with this. Brian Dixon, who was a guest on my podcast, and he wrote the book, Start With Your People. He has a whole course on money, because, and one of my coaching clients recently was saying, I could go start a ministry any day of the week, but when I want to go start a business, it's sort of like, oh, am I supposed to do that? And what I loved is that you realize that it's not bringing the most value to your potential clients if you're not charging for your services, because they don't have skin in the game. They're not going to get the value. They're not going to put in the time and effort, to get back what they really want to get out of it. And so how do we marry that up? And I think sometimes as God-centered entrepreneurs, we think on some level that charging for our services or earning money with our business is somehow not biblical or whatever, because we sort of have this whole money thing, when throughout the Bible it talks about working. The first thing that God ever did was work. He created. And I love that you realized that, and that you took it to the Lord and said, okay, how do I do this? And then you could never have imagined this other piece that's happening with the nonprofits.
No, and it worked out that way. And I think one of the things, in my viewpoint, two things on that point is, divinely, I believe we are his greatest creation and meant for prosperity. He creates, fruit trees and bushes, and they're meant to prosper and flourish and be heavy with fruit. And I think so are we. And something, I remember a turning point in my mindset for earning the max capacity for my skill and my talent. I was spending time with a dear friend, Jan Hayden, and Jan Jarbo now, and she and I were having lunch, and I was sharing this with her, and I was feeling like, that whole, rich people can't get through the eye of a needle issue, and to get into heaven. And she was like, basically, shame on you, because here's the deal. There is a certain amount of money in the world, period. And it's either going to be in the hands of people who are going to use it for his glory and for his kingdom, and resources and spaces where it's most needed, or it's going to be in the hands of the people who are just going to go do something completely for themselves for it only. These are the options out there, right? And so if you're not doing everything you can to make sure that you're as successful as he's allowing you to be based on all your gifts and skills, then you are not expanding his kingdom for his glory, or will you be able to have the resources or touch the lives that you're meant to, because you have this stuck mindset. And so that was a really big deal for me.
That's huge. That's huge. Somebody needed to hear that. So I'm so glad that we've dove down into that a little bit. So we have just a few minutes left, Jessica, and I would love to know a couple of things. So where do you see, right now you're in such a great place. There's so much happening. When you have downtimes in the middle of that, how do you turn to the Lord, and what does that look like? Because, every level has its devils, is what they say. So even as everything is going incredibly, there's other things in our life that are always a little bit in flux. And so how do you find strength in those moments to step back and breathe and, sort of walk through challenge when it presents itself, because there will always be challenge?
So 3 ways. I have an amazing dear friend, Stevie, who's out in Texas right now, and her and I have an accountability call every Friday. And so we evaluate the successes of the week prior, and we decide on the 3 main things we really have to focus on and accomplish by the next accountability call. And that has been huge for me, because just speaking out loud some of those goals, like I randomly said, 2 years ago, I put on my vision board, I really want to be more global. I'd love to have some contacts and build some relationships in the UK and Australia. Literally, I now have 3 huge international networking groups virtually that I am a part of that cross over a little bit, but have their own separate pots of people that I had no idea was coming. And I immediately reached out to a couple of people just asking for introductions. And I got 1 UK and 2 Australia introductions, right? I mean, so just speaking these things out loud with my accountability partner have made a big deal. The other way is a prayer that I do every day, and I think that keeps me grounded. And it is the prayer of Jabez, and I've added a few little things to it. I say, Heavenly Father, bless me indeed. Open the windows of heaven and pour out your blessings upon me. Expand my territory for the glory of your kingdom, holding me in the palm of your hand and keeping your hand firmly upon me. And keep me far from evil, and evil far from me, that I might never cause another harm. And I think having that prayer on a regular basis as my anchor is pretty huge. And I had a 3rd way, and I don't know where it went, so it must not have been important.
That's all good. That's all good. I think the best part about that is, the accountability, which is huge. Get yourself an accountability partner, and then memorizing some scripture, not so that it can be wrote and recited as a ritual, but more that's the place where you go, when you're having those moments. And
I know what the 3rd one is now. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Meditation. I've actually been working with a meditation coach, Anne-Marie Tolman, and we have had some really profound meditations. And something interesting happens and I just wrote this down in my prayer journal, this space of being in union with God in this meditation, and actually bringing him, and I never really did this before, and I don't know why. I bring him everything else, but I've been bringing him business problems to solve, or challenges. I don't know how this is going to go. What would it look like? And then I bring this to him in this meditation, and I get these answers, and I get these really powerful visual gifts from him in my meditation, about the world expanding, and about the different ways I'm going to be able to participate and touch lives that are so far beyond the ripples I'll ever see or meet,
right.
Which brings me to tears, because that's like my life vision, is to touch so many lives that I have no idea how many that they're affected in some positive manner.
Right.
Um,
I love that, bringing him into it, because I think he's always there. We just somehow, one of my coaching clients says she feels like it's separation of church and state. And what I'm helping her understand is that, no, it's bridging faith and business. Like, you know, there's this age old story of a woman, I don't know where it's from, but where she says, like, I can give God all of my life, but when it comes to my finances, I think I got this. And it's sort of like, when it comes to our businesses, no, he has that too. And he wants to communicate, and he wants us to see that it's so much bigger and broader than we could think, if we would just invite him in, if we would just acknowledge that he's there and that he has us in the palm of his hand. It's so powerful.
Well, and it's interesting you said I've got my finances, because I don't even think of him that way anymore. All of our resources belong to him. They're not ours. And it's a matter of having him give us discernment on how to distribute them,
Totally.
you know, and where they need to go. And I think when you think differently like that, the amount of abundance is so much broader, because it all belongs to him. And so whatever lands in our direction, it's just a matter of, where would you like it to go, Lord?
Exactly.
So.
Oh, so awesome. So Jessica, as we close up, this was so beautiful. See, it's perfect. Perfect. I would love to know two things. One, how would you describe you and your business in 3 words? And then 2, how can we find you?
In 3 words. Grateful, hopeful, and collaborative.
That is so, I've known Jessica for a while, and that's 100%, especially the collaborative part, because you are master at collaboration. And how can people find you?
I am everywhere.
That's true.
Well, not like God in that way. He is more everywhere than me, but I'm on LinkedIn. I have a website. It's my name. It's Jessica, the letter L in the middle, which is for my middle name, which is Lynn, and then my last name, Koch. So JessicaLKoch.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube. Oh, find me on YouTube. That's growing like crazy too. So all kinds of good stuff. That's, I guess, how you can find me.
Awesome. Yay. So Jessica, thank you for joining me. Thank you for your patience and re-recording. I think we brought a whole different level of value for the Pursuing Success God's Way community and for the podcast. And I just love you. I'm so excited to watch and just to have been witness to see all the things that have been happening. And it truly has been like physically watching God open doors. And it's been so fun to be kind of in the front row to see all that happen. So thanks for being my guest.
Well, thank you for having me. I love being a part of all your celebrations and your success too, your book launch and all the things you've done. They're very inspiring, all the things you do.
Oh, thank you. I think we all have the opportunity to inspire each other. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and see you next time on the podcast and next week on our weekly dose.